And if you jilt a guy for not thinking enough about Black Lives Matter, just tell me this. What have you actually done that made any more of a difference in any black life than what your inadequate ex-fiancé did? I asked Senator Adam Schiff here last week when the subject of Trump's sliding poll numbers came up. Okay, but how are the Democrats going to blow it this time? This is how. Posturing, purity tests, the politics of I unfriend you if you're not exactly with me 1,000%. Barack Obama used to preach that the perfect is the enemy of the good. Yeah, it's also the enemy of getting laid.
Bill Maher didn't soften his message. He openly criticized what he sees as the excesses of the modern far left, aiming much of his frustration at television and media content that, in his view, prioritizes ideological messaging over common sense and storytelling. His argument wasn't subtle. He suggested that some shows are more focused on signaling virtue than reflecting real-world experiences, and he didn't hesitate to call that out directly.
Because if you're going to eliminate every 20-something who hasn't thought a lot about politics, you're going to be working from a smaller pool than roadies with no leg tattoos.
The outspoken host took aim at what he described as message-first programming, arguing that certain TV shows lecture audiences instead of entertaining them. His commentary landed with humor, sarcasm, and sharp timing, turning cultural critique into stand-up level commentary. For many viewers, the appeal wasn't just the criticism itself, but how bluntly and unapologetically it was delivered.
Before they can take on Donald Trump, Democrats have to decide which wing of their own party is best to lead them out of the wilderness. And when I say that, I'm sure you can all guess what recent incident in the news I'm thinking about. The season 8 finale of Love is Blind. Here's what happened. The bride, an impressive, attractive nurse named Sarah Carton, walked out on her dream wedding to sales consultant Ben Mazenga. They were at the altar, all dressed up, almost to the part where they eat cake and do the electric slide. When Sarah broke the news to her man that she just couldn't go through with it, had he cheated on her? Abused her? Was he a folk-singing Irish vampire? No, it was because of Black Lives Matter.
Maher acknowledged that the cultural movement he was criticizing may no longer dominate headlines the way it once did, but he argued its influence hasn't disappeared. Instead, he suggested it has quietly spread into everyday life, including personal relationships. One of the most surprising consequences, he noted, is how ideological expectations now affect dating and long-term partnerships. According to Maher, disagreements that once would have been minor are now treated as deal breakers, creating tension where harmony once existed.
He had not done the work on this issue.
When I asked him about it, he was like, I guess I've never really thought too much about it.
And that's when Sarah realized she'd rather die alone. Because love isn't blind, it's woke. Well, now, to be fair to Sarah, it wasn't just Black Lives Matter. Ben also didn't have much to say about the vaccine. And his position on trans was basically, I don't know, I guess. Sarah's sister is gay, and when she told that to Ben, Ben said he had, quote, no discomfort around that community at all. Not good enough, Ben!
In one example Maher discussed, a relationship didn't end because of dishonesty, betrayal, or lack of affection. It ended because one partner didn't express the right opinions on popular political issues. What stood out wasn't disagreement, but neutrality. Refusing to take a loud stance or participate in online outrage was treated as a failure of character. Maher argued this reflects a cultural shift where silence is no longer seen as thoughtfulness, but as a moral flaw.
Let me tell you, folks, if the standards on the left are going to be this high and politics is going to be this much of a cock block, we're never going to win elections or have any more babies. This inclination from certain liberals to always and immediately excommunicate instead of communicate is what makes them so unlikable. And I'm sorry, Sarah, to make you the poster child for this, but come on. I mean, look at this stiff. What'd you expect?
This, Maher argued, reflects a broader issue on the modern left, constantly evolving ideological standards that few people can realistically meet. What began as open preferences slowly turned into visible political signaling, and eventually into an expectation of nonstop engagement. Even choosing not to engage is now interpreted as taking the wrong side. According to Maher, this approach doesn't foster understanding or inclusion. It replaces tolerance with rigid conformity and pushes people further apart rather than bringing them together.
Okay, you're a much better person than he is. You win. And by win, I mean lose. Christ, first we couldn't date people who had opposite political beliefs. Now we can't even date them if they have no opinion at all? It's enough to make you lose faith in finding true love on a reality streaming series. Because if you're going to eliminate every 20-something who hasn't thought a lot about politics, you're going to be working from a smaller pool than roadies with no leg tattoos.
Maher warned that if society continues encouraging people to only partner with those who think, vote, and speak exactly the same way, the long-term consequences could be serious. Relationships thrive on balance, compromise, and respectful disagreement. When ideological alignment becomes the primary requirement, connection takes a back seat. Over time, this mindset narrows social circles, increases isolation, and makes lasting relationships harder to form.
Let's be clear. Ben didn't say, you know, I have thought about Black Lives Matter and I'm with Derek Chauvin. No. He said, I'm young and dumb and full of fantasy football stats. Could we just talk about it? I'm sorry, I'm not up to the part of my life yet where I give about the issues. Should he? Of course. We all should do a lot of things. I should meditate and finish Moby Dick and learn to get to sleep without a gummy.
Another key point Maher raised is that people don't need to have strong opinions on every topic. Choosing not to comment can reflect humility or a desire to learn, not ignorance or apathy. However, in today's climate, restraint is often punished. People are pressured to immediately take sides, even on issues they haven't fully explored. Maher argued this discourages thoughtful discussion and rewards surface-level reactions instead of honest reflection.
But maybe Ben hasn't turned his life over to being a social justice warrior yet because he's preoccupied with trying to get his life going. Possibly because he's worried about having the means to support the woman he thought he was going to marry, who seems rather demanding and particular. That's not all. The guy must also have a nice car and make over $100K a year. Okay, but you know, how many 6'2" Grand Prix drivers are there?
Maher also emphasized that not everyone needs to be an activist. Some people are focused on family, work, creativity, or simply living quietly. That doesn't make them uncaring or morally lacking. A healthy society, he argued, allows room for people who engage deeply, people who question, and people who step back. The real problem begins when neutrality is treated as unacceptable and opting out becomes grounds for judgment.
I know you've all been told that you can have it all, and you're a queen and a lady boss, and that. But maybe your judgy is no prize either.
He then pointed out how unrealistic standards can undermine relationships altogether. When expectations revolve around rigid ideological checklists, very few people qualify. Standards meant to protect relationships can instead prevent them from forming. Maher suggested that when love starts to feel like a screening process rather than a connection, it's a sign something has gone wrong.
Did you know that on Bumble, only 15% of the women are willing to date a man under 5'8"? Wow. Women, they're like roller coasters now. You must be this tall to ride them. I asked Senator Adam Schiff here last week when the subject of Trump's sliding poll numbers came up. Okay, but how are the Democrats going to blow it this time? This is how. Posturing, purity tests, the politics of I unfriend you if you're not exactly with me 1,000%.
Maher framed his criticism as a warning, particularly for Democrats. He argued that excessive posturing, public shaming, and ideological gatekeeping may feel righteous, but they carry political consequences. Voters, he said, respond better to competence and clarity than to constant moral signaling. Movements that push out anyone who doesn't fully conform don't grow. They shrink.
It's time for the media to admit that they blew the whole thing way out of proportion, because as always with media these days, they don't cover what's most important, just what's most fun to watch. There are 15.2 million college students in the U.S., and 2,300 have been arrested. That's 1/67th of 1%. And half of the ones in New York weren't even students. But we were given the false impression that these protesters are the voice of their generation, having found a cause for which they were willing to go to the tents and to the barricades. Oh, please, these kids are more violent when their team wins a championship.
In closing, Maher's message was clear. Cultural activism, when taken to extremes, doesn't just affect politics. It reshapes personal relationships and social trust. When neutrality is condemned and disagreement is treated as disloyalty, people disengage. Maher argued that lasting progress depends on inclusion, dialogue, and results, not purity tests. As he sees it, confusing loud activism with widespread support is a mistake, one that history shows rarely ends well. And with that, the segment wrapped up, leaving viewers with a question about whether the culture is moving toward connection or further division.